And welcome back. You're still watching Daybreak on this 10th day of August 2021. Of course, as we continue to look at the 1 year to election, you just watched the interview there with the former commissioner of IEBC, that is one Margaret Mochanya. And she said a couple of things, including what her reflections are on the 2017 election, but also what now she's a deputy head of mission in Islamabad of Pakistan. And she also says that she has lost connection with Chairman Wafula Chebukati and Commissioner Boya Molu, who she alleges that blocked her on phone. But anyway, she says that for the next commissioners of IEBC, they have to be in a position to follow the law as laid out in the different regulations and rules that govern the management of elections. And that will be our conversation here. I'll shortly be introducing the panelists because we have Beatrice Elachi, who is the Chief Administrative Secretary at the Public Service and Gender Ministry. We also have former Senator of Kakamega, Boni Halwale, and shortly we'll be joined by two other guests. I'll be in a position to introduce them as soon as that is possible. But I want us to begin by looking at the two dailies. The front page of the Daily Nation, you'll see how Ruto Man was kicked out at night. And they are quoting the law that the minister may order removal from Kenya of any person declared a prohibited immigrant. And there has been a tweet by the deputy president who has been complaining about how Harun Aidin has been handled by the Kenyan authorities. He traveled from Uganda on Saturday and was arrested, detained, and yesterday he traveled back to Turkey, or so we are told. So the deputy president says there that just talked and apologized on behalf of the government to Aidin, now in Turkey, who was politically arrested, tortured and falsely profiled as a terrorist, but later asked to fly out not to shame those involved. Political pettiness is expensive, dangerous, and will destroy our economy. And he says, shame. I'm just wondering the thoughts of Senator Boni Halwale this morning as we wake up to the news of the traveling back of one Harun Aidin. But there's also a story on front page of the Standard. Aidin exits Kenya under mysterious circumstances, and the story is on page 9 of the Standard. That if you open, you'll see that they are talking about a Turkish national has visited Kenya several times since 2013, holds a work permit issued by the Kenyan Immigration Department. In 2001, another Harun Aidin was arrested in Germany as he was about to board an Iran air flight to Tehran with luggage containing suspicious materials. He was later released for lack of evidence that he was planning a violent act. And the Turkish embassy had previously said the Harun Aidin arrested in Kenya was a citizen with no criminal record. But then there has been events. On the 2nd of August, Deputy President is blocked at Wilson Airport from traveling to Uganda. He's stranded for at least 5 hours at the airport, that is Wilson Airport. And the presence of Harun Aidin in Ruto's travel party is said to have caught the attention of immigration officials. Then August 2nd, MPs Dinde Nyoro, Oscar Sudi and Benjamin Tayari issue a statement from Uganda. The 7th of August, Aidin is detained upon landing at Wilson Airport, and 9th of August, which is yesterday, he left the country. And Senator Boni Halwale, what are your reflections about what just happened? Of course, Deputy President there condemning the actions that are executed by the government officials. What are your thoughts?
The question is, in terms of ranking, the Deputy President and the spokesperson who was speaking on behalf of the government on this matter, who is senior? My understanding is that the higher the authority, the more it is expected that that statement is more informative of the position of government. So the Deputy President, being the second highest ranking person in government, would rather go by what he was saying.
Are you convinced of what you say?
Yes, 100%. For the reason that the only crime of this businessman is that he's associated with the Deputy President. And it's not surprising because even locally, the people who are associated with the Deputy President are marked. And you know what they go through.
CAS, Beatrice Elachi, your reflections on what just happened. It's been quite a short week of August.
Well, for me, I think, number one, you see, this is a very, it's an issue that is sort of a bilateral issue between two countries. And therefore, you see, this is a citizen of Turkey. We have an embassy here of Turkey. I have not seen in any newspaper them coming out and saying, the Kenyan government, you have done wrong to our citizen. You have. So, you know, and that's why I always say, when you deal with foreign policy, most of the time it's good to look at how also the country of origin of the person, of the citizen, is also behaving. So it's very difficult to even know whether, because if it is a citizen, and the way I know Turkey, Turkey knows how to defend their citizens very, very harshly. And they feel always very offended when you touch their citizens. So I needed to have seen a very robust statement coming from the Turkish embassy saying it was wrong, first of all, to think of our citizen of this. But then you see the challenge of everyone, even us, is that when we do things many years, you know, we forget our skeletons. Now, in such a scenario, you might find by the time we are finishing the month of August, so many things, because when we come and we are doing business with people, that due diligence, we don't do it until something happens. So for now, I would say this. The citizen is back in their country. I would wish first we keep, you see now you are starting to read for us. In Germany there was suspicion, I don't know what. That is very dangerous. Because if you are a good citizen, nobody should have suspicion. You should never go in a foreign country and people suspect you. Even as you walk, it's very dangerous. Because definitely in their consciousness, because the security agencies are very interesting. You can look at someone and just know this person it's not a good person, but I'm not understanding but I can see, I have a feeling you're not a right person. And it happens even in our immigrations. You can see you have cleared someone, but your sixth sense is still reminding you that person was not a right person. So for me, the whole, I don't want to get into the issues, but I'm just saying, I would wish. This is a country that has a citizen. We have good bilateral friendships, relationship. We have an embassy. They can come out and clear for us because this is their citizen. The same way we will be asking Kenya if it was our citizen somewhere in Turkish being harassed or anything. I know everyone would have been on the voice of the government, that government has to clear our citizen. And if that citizen has done wrong, bring our citizen back to our country. I think that's what the Kenyan government did. Okay. Yeah, that take him back to their country. If he has done wrong, they will deal with him at home.
All right, and I want to introduce Anne Ireri, Executive Director from FIDA Kenya, and also the Chair of the Election Observation Group. Is that the name? Yes. Karibu sana to the show, and I know you left the studios very late in the night. So I'll get back to you, but Senator Khalwale, your team or your side of politics has been quite in the defense of Harun Aidin. Do you know who he is?
We have not been defending him because his name is Aidin. We are defending him because we are defending the rule of law. Number two, he's got up in a situation whereby deliberately the government was using him as an excuse to justify how they embarrassed, humiliated the deputy president, and in the process violated the Constitution of Kenya. The Constitution of Kenya speaks to the freedom of movement. That freedom of movement, you enjoy it both within and without Kenya. So we are coming out strongly, particularly because if somebody doesn't come out about this, then you are saying the alternative is you go to court. If you go to court and sue government, and specifically you sue the president for violation of the Constitution, I can assure you...
Why the president?
Because he's the CEO of the Republic. He is the one with the #1 responsibility to uphold, protect, and defend the Constitution of Kenya. Don't forget that the BBI judgment in the High Court found that he had violated the Constitution. So it would not be surprising
but where do you find
if this would be the second time.
Senator Khalwale, where do you find the president's hand in this?
How would I?
Where do you find the president's hand in this?
Because the buck stops with the president on such a serious matters like his deputy president being stopped from enjoying the freedom of movement. It's not a laughing matter. And it reminds me, Sam, of the bad old days of apartheid in South Africa, when the leaders of South Africa would be told, you would either not go to a particular part of the country, or if you are anywhere in the country, you would not meet more than 9 people, or you would not go as near as Lesotho or Swaziland. This used to happen to the leaders of South Africa during the time of apartheid. So this is a bad place we are taking the country to. And thank God that we still have a few people remaining in this country like us who can speak to government and call it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you think? What is this that we are seeing, especially at a time that we are now within the final year to the election? What is politics and what's factual from your reading?
Thank you very much for having me. Sam, I think for us, and I'll speak as a citizen and as a lawyer, I think one, we are a country that is governed by the rule of law. We do have a constitution that we all swore to uphold. And I think what is important away from everything is to have fidelity to the law, in the sense that for citizens, there's need for clear explanation. If you look at what's happening, for a lot of Kenyan citizens, they're really at a loss. They really would not understand the intricacies of what exactly has taken place. So I think for us, and as a country that is really preparing for elections with whatever scenarios that may arise, what is important from law enforcement is to be very articulate on what violations have occurred, and for those enforcing the law to really state out then what needs to happen. Secondly, of course, we all need to be governed and to remember we are all under the rule of law with no exceptions. So procedures and processes that do facilitate the law to be upheld must be followed to the letter. So I think for us, what we are saying is, of course, getting into the election season, 12 months away, that's a year. A lot is going to take place. However, for citizens, what is important is law and order must be maintained. We must all uphold the Constitution in terms of even fundamental rights and freedoms. So where they are being interfered with, where they are being curtailed, whatever the case, I think the law is very clear and the Constitution is very articulate as well. So let's have clarity on this and let it be explained to Kenyans for them to understand. But for most of them, if you look at even what's been happening over the weekend, they are quite disjointed from it, because for them, they feel perhaps whatever is going on might not affect them in one or the other. So it's how we then break that down for them to understand, so that then they also can be part of the conversation. Yeah.
And what do you think? Because we're, yes, within that 1 year to election, within a government that has sort of, the leadership has fallen out, that is between the President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto. So a lot of things been happening and people perceiving them based on political, should I call it, what do you call it, political viewfinder.
Yes.
So how does the citizen tell between all this? Even as you said that it needs to be explained to them why things are being done the way they are. How then does the citizen tell all this? Because we are in that quote-unquote crazy season where lies and a lot of information will be coming through, including propaganda.
The thing for citizens that's important, Sam, is one, as we maintain, even as ILOG, we'll keep on saying this to Kenyans until after the election, that elections is not the 9th of August, 2022. There is a whole process before and after. Secondly, our Constitution guarantees the right to information under Article 35. So we need to take a lot of these seemingly technical aspects of elections, of law, break them down in terms of civic education, voter education, have Kenyans engage with the process without bias, have information available in means that understand. If you're looking at even translating it to languages that people would be able to interact with, if it's persons who, for example, living with disability, are we making information available and packaging it in a way that they understand? So I think how we can help Kenyans is to ensure that even as the fourth estate, as institutions who are non-state actors, as ourselves. And of course, as a government of Kenya, is please avail possible information to Kenyans, package it in a manner that they can understand it, let them interact, ask questions, be part of the process. That way they'll be able to tell bias from unbiased information, and secondly, they'll also be part of the process. Sadly, what we see in Kenya, Sam, is politics and elections is left to the political class, and that has its own implications. So we need to view politics as not being a preserve of the political class or a few, but then being very clear that as Kenyans, every aspect of our daily lives is governed by politics, so we need to get involved in the same.
And Senator, what do you think would be your role, especially in telling Kenyans the truth? Yes, you want to win an election, but what would be your role in telling them the truth without information that could be misleading for them to make the best of decisions?
It is a question of Chapter 6 on leadership and integrity. If you are privileged to be a leader, then it follows without question that your integrity must not be in question. So when you find a leader faces the public and tells the public a lie, for example, in this case of this businessman from Turkey, if it is true he was a terrorist, why was he requested to leave the country? If he was a terrorist, he should have been charged. And the Kenyan police should have worked with the Interpol so that Interpol can help them more information without having to rely on the embassy or any statement from our side to establish their case. Then they take them to court in Kenya. Terrorism is an international crime.
Senator, do you know what he has been doing in the country?
Yes.
What?
He was coming to explore the business opportunities for investment. And some people who do not want to use the information at their disposal is that the business environment in Kenya is intertwined with that in the region. Kenya is a very strong and pivotal player in the regional trade of the East African community. So if the man, if I may conclude, if the man first stopped in Nairobi and ends up in Kampala or Uganda, that's what many businessmen do all the time. And for your information, I have been an assistant minister of the East African community. I know what the East African protocol on trade speaks to. So there is nothing strange in a businessman flying into Kenya, flying into Rwanda.
In Kenya. He was yet to invest in Kenya, that's what you mean?
The first stop you do when you're a businessman is not to invest.
No,
is to find out the potential. You can come once,
I don't have a problem with that.
20 times.
I'm just asking for the sake of clarity. Yes. So he was exploring. He hadn't yet invested.
At this point, I do not have the authority to disclose the details of his business engagements in the country. But I have the authority to defend the law and the protocols around investment in the country.
Okay. Yes. I want us to take a break, but Juan Thomas Letangule is here. He's a former commissioner of the IEBC. He'll be joining us shortly. But Beatrice Elachi, as you reflect on this, so there's a perception that the government that you're serving as a chief administrative secretary is harassing investors, including that tweet from your deputy president that he even goes on to say that political pettiness is expensive, dangerous, and will destroy our economy. Shame. How does that make you feel?
But we're all in government. So even when you're speaking, he's speaking when he's in government. But let me say this. You said that Harun came here in 20 what? He was given a permit.
2018?
In 2018 or 20... The first time he came in was in 20 what? 2012, 20 what? And for the last, let's say 2018. So from 2018, he was an investor. He comes in. He was unable to invest at that time. Because that's the question I'll ask. You've come in as an investor, At that time, I think the president had visited Turkey, welcomed the investors of Turkey. We have very many investors from Turkey here. Right now, we are doing many of the urban renewal houses. We are getting most of fantastic quality from Turkey. So any businessman who's coming from Turkey, by the way, gets Kenya is one of the hubs that they know you can do very good business. So if you are coming as a serious businessman from Turkey, you are doing business. We have right now, when you go to industrial area, if you want the best, I'll tell you, anything for housing. Right now, we are looking at the things that are coming from Turkey. And so when you say that you've come as a businessman, and which I know investors suffer in our country, so I don't want to look at my former senator and tell him, this is a country where sometimes also an investor comes. The Kenyan that has bring that investor, first of all, steals the money of the investor. You find the investor again wondering, where did I come? Then you are told, you know, you will see so-and-so in government, you will see. Things they lie, In fact, sometimes, I remember, I don't want to say the name, but I remember one very leader who I normally look at and wonder, saying that people use an office. You're seated there, Sam, and I walk in with an investor. Just walking in, a Kenyan has made money. You know, I've told you what, it is a year of saying what we do, so that we help our country. So if you can bring investors on this platform, and they tell you what they've gone through in Kenya, before they invest, or even they've run away because they were unable to invest, that's why they've gone to Rwanda. It's because of us again, us. So I don't want to ask Yadin, when you came in 2018, you were to do business. The first door you knocked, was it the door to open for you how government does business? Did you go there straight to Kenya Invest and say that this is where I can understand how to invest in Kenya, what I need? And I know it's online also. So by the time he's arriving in Kenya, he has a contact Kenyan who needs to help him go in steps and make sure he invests. So now when you say 3 years, he was unable. Now is when he was being open doors, and then now we start again harassing. Then something is not right somewhere.
Okay, all right. Unfortunately, we don't have so much information.
Sam, I have a question.
Please ask.
Allow me to ask Senator Elaji. Senator Elaji.
Yes.
You are not a headmistress of a primary school in Kawangware.
Yes.
You are an assistant minister, if you allow me to use the old technology. If you are prepared for this very important session that we Kenyans are watching now,
yes,
why don't you use this opportunity to tell us the position of the government, what the government knows on Ayadin, so that some of us who are ill-informed can also learn from you. You are a woman of authority. Please, use this opportunity.
And my senator of Kakamega, as I respect you, you are a leader in this country. See, before I even became a leader, to be very honest, you are right now with the second influential government leader, the deputy president, who is in government, who needed to have said, I have had my businessman for the last 3 years. He has been doing business in Kenya, and now my government is harassing him. Now, if he did not tell you, and you've just told us again and told Kenyans this morning that you cannot give information whether he had started business or not, who am I, an officer, who can be under the privilege to serve the president and the deputy president?
So between you and I,
No.
who is closer to the deputy president? You, who is an appointee of the deputy president, or I, who is a social friend of the deputy president?
You became a social friend. I thought you are one of the strategists, my senator. And so you have more information because you were being given, I mean, I haven't met Ayadin, so I'm just an officer under the privilege serving both of them, because if he sends me as an officer, I will serve diligently.
You know, you're just...
As per the Constitution.
You are intimidating me because on my right, Anne knows that I'm one
I'm
of the
not
recipients.
intimidating you. You
Okay.
started by
Can I make my point?
telling
Can
the
I make my point?
headmistress.
Senator
so
It's
there's
Halwale.
nice to make my point.
Senator Halwale and
On a
Senator
light
Elachi.
touch. On a light touch. You know, Beatrice is intimidating me
No,
because she
I'm not.
knows that on my right there is Anne Erari who has record of the fact
My senator,
that
I'm
I
not.
am one of the first recipients of the FIDA recognition for leaders in this country.
Oh, for not
advance-
doing the right
Who
who
thing.
advance the interests of the women of Kenya. 2010.
Well, we started
Very-
that conversation on the note of what each of you knows about Harun Aidin. We still don't have the answers. We still remain. The only statement from a government official has been from the Deputy President saying many things, but also shame. We take a short break. When we return, we talk about 1 year to election, and we'll be focusing on what it will mean. IBC says 40.9 billion shillings required. Politicians have been given caps on how much they can spend on campaigns. 4.4 billion shillings for presidential election, 117 million shillings in Nairobi for gubernatorial or any county election. We talk about that after the break. Stay tuned.